Welcome folks, it's Andrew Huffer here, joining you again on Westlink TV, where we've got episode 2 of the business planning for CRCs. Today I'm joined by the Super Supreme, John Denton, and the most wonderful Ros Worth. Welcome again, folks.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yes.
Ready for another action-packed episode?
Looking forward to it.
Always.
Very good. Today we're going to help you in developing objectives for your CRC and to put them into the business planning template. And today we're going to be focusing on SMART objectives, so going a bit deeper on those. And we'll also be talking about how to improve levels of accountability in a CRC and having measurable outcomes. So hang on, it's going to be a great ride. John, could you take us through what we're going to be looking at today?
Sure. Thank you, Andrew. This is episode 2 of a 10-episode program designed to help you build your business plan for your organisation. Each episode will give you content and material to put into the different sections of the business plan. And before we get into episode 2, I'd just like to remind you that between episodes, you really need to be working on the content, reviewing it, and working with your team to create the content and start building the plan. And to help you with that, I'd just like to remind you that there are resources available. If you visit the CRC portal, you can download the program workbook. There is a business plan template, and we will be working through the workbook with you and explaining where you can then take that content and put it into the business plan. They can be downloaded from https://extranet.crc.net.au. So as you work through the workbook, take the content, review it with your team, and start to build the business plan. So Andrew, tell us about today's
Fantabulous.
content.
Let's talk detail. So today we're going to do a bit of a review of episode 1. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to go deep on SMART objectives. So, calming it down for a moment, let's talk a bit about what we talked about in episode 1. So we asked you 6 key questions to help you focus on your business plan, to really get your mind about the sort of stuff you're going to have to do. So we got you to think about your feelings about the CRC, the key issues you wanted to cover in the business planning process, the strengths and opportunities of your CRC, some of the weaknesses and threats. Remember, we went to the dark side. And then we started talking about big, hairy, audacious objectives. We'll go back there a bit today. We also talked about your role in making the plan a success. And that's all outlined on page 3 of your workbook. We also introduced the concept of the SWOT analysis, where you got to look at the strengths, weaknesses and opportunities and threats facing your CRC, and how you can use this business planning process to account for some of those and address some of those. And we finished off with getting you to look at your mission statement. So thinking about, what is your CRC really trying to achieve? What's the big picture approach for you guys? So no doubt you've taken some time, as John mentioned, in between episodes to talk about this with your colleagues, to work through some of the work you've done so far, especially on the SWOT analysis from the last episode, and are ready to roll today. So I think it's time we just hooked into today and started thinking about what are we going to do. And it's about looking at objectives and SMART objectives. In the previous episode, we talked about these big, hairy, audacious objectives, the things that your CRC could get out there and achieve. Ros, you got some great objectives for us to hear about, and some ones that were different to the ones we talked about last week. Could you take us through those, please?
Yes. Williams recently have run an intergenerational activity where they've combined the different age groups in their community to inspire and learn from each other. Serpentine Jarrahdale recently ran a community fair where they profiled all the different activities and arts and craft interest groups in their region. That was such a success that that will now become an annual event. Boddington run the Lewin Voyage for the CRC trainees across the network, a great initiative to inspire and self-development learning opportunities. And Mount Barker in the school holidays have run a sports, science and inspirational activity for their youth, where they've designed a mini golf course, bush survival skills and knot tying and snake identification. Not to be confused with tying snakes with knots. But so they're just really different, innovative ways to look after the community.
Very good, very good. And some fantastic examples there of the sort of things you could be really aiming towards doing, things that really set you apart and stamp your CRC within your community as a place to go. So John, I'm going to hand over to you now to take us through what your view of success is in talking about a thing you call the success continuum.
Yes, Andrew, it sounds very elaborate success continuum, but it's basically setting the scene of how you achieve goals successfully. It's all very well to create big, hairy, audacious goals, but unless you actually go through a process to make them happen, then you don't really achieve your success. People get very frustrated because they've got the goals, but nothing's actually happening and they're not moving towards them. So I'm going to explain, with your help, Andrew, on the latest technology. It's called a flipboard, and Andrew is going to do the writing and I'm going to do the talking. So Andrew, the first thing we need when we're putting together a business plan and big, hairy, audacious goals is to get some good input.
Okay.
And when we say input, we mean getting input from all the stakeholders in the organisation. So the people that you're providing services to, the people you're providing services for, and all the stakeholders in the organisation. So get together as a team, work out the input, and that's the starting point. Then above that, Andrew, that input goes into the business plan. So the next step up is to get that input clear, smart, and written up in the business plan. So you need to write faster, Andrew. So it's very important to get any goals written down, because then it's more likely to get actioned and you can follow up on it as well. So our graphic artist is now doing a picture of a business plan. Once you've got it in the business plan, quite often business plans get written up, put on the shelf, and then nothing ever happens. And there's all kinds of reasons for that. So the next thing you need to be aware of is attitudes, and attitudes of the team, your own attitudes, in terms of executing the business plan. So Andrew, if you could write in attitudes in there for us, please. And some of the attitudes that come up, you will have some people on your team who have a glass half full, half empty, either glass half full or glass half empty attitude. So some people always have a can-do attitude, some people always see problems in situations. So as a team, you're going to need to be aware of those attitudes and work around them and make sure that everybody gets on the same thinking process. Use the jelly bean idea that we used before. Okay, so once we've got that sorted out, then the next thing is, what is the action going to be, and taking action. As I've mentioned before, nothing happens until there's action. So Andrew, the next step up is action or behaviour. This is all down to people's action and behaviour. So you've got to action the plan and work towards your goals. Very nicely done, Andrew.
Wait till you see the picture.
And the actions that you take, if you think about it, will determine the results that you get. And it's the results that you get which will determine your success. And it's a case of taking the right action, of course. So Andrew's going to talk in a little while about making goals and big, hairy, audacious goals into a smart format. And that's the real secret to achieving your goals. So that when you're taking the action, it's the correct action, you're all going in the same direction, you're all leading towards success. And so while Andrew completes that, I'll just mention that, again, by making the goals smart, it means that they can be measured. It means that your progress towards the goals can be measured, and it enables the whole team to stay on track. I think we found a new role for you, Andrew.
I'm enjoying it. And so we're leading up to success here, John?
Yep, that's right. So if you're getting the right results from the correct behaviour, then you'll be successful and you'll have success as an outcome. And again, as I say, by measuring the success, by having measurable goals, then you can measure your success, and it motivates the whole team when people see that they're actually moving towards where they wanted to get to. And that feeds back into the bottom end of the little continuum there, so that you're reinforcing the positive action. And of course, if you reinforce positive action, you'll get more positive action and more success. So that's what we call the success continuum. It's about working towards those big, hairy, audacious goals and getting the success that you and your organisation want. So now I'll hand over to Andrew to explain a little bit more about SMART.
Cool. So let's talk about SMART objectives. And while we do that, if you could flip over to page 5 and 6 of your workbook, and we'll work through now what this SMART thing is. So a SMART objective is something that's specific, it's measurable, it's action focused, it's realistic, and it's time constrained. So it means you're setting yourself up to do something that you can do and do well and prove to others that you've achieved it, rather than saying something broad and sort of wishy-washy that's never really going to get there. And I call them objectives that suck. So I can take you through some objectives that suck right now that I've actually seen in some business plans before. And things like, we're going to get more grants, we're going to keep our staff, we're going to provide great customer service. Well, who can't do that? It's basically meaningless, and I'm on a bit of a rant now, I know, but if you can put your objectives into SMART format, it actually gives you protection from your funders. It actually gives you some value to show to your local community, and it helps you also within your own team. And we're going to talk about that a bit more in a moment.
Can I make a suggestion, Andrew, on that? When you're writing goals, if you've written a goal down which you think is SMART, then some questions you can ask yourself about that goal are, how are we going to measure that? And how will we know? And that's always a good indicator of if it's specific and measurable. And generally, measurable goals have numbers in them. So if you've written a goal down and there are no numbers in the goal, there's a possibility, a good possibility, that it's not SMART.
Yep.
You know, so it's just a good test for people to go through. And now those examples you've given us are great examples, because get more grants, there's no number in that. And yes, you'll know you've got them because you'll have the grant, but it's just making it so that you know how you're going to measure it and how you're going to see that you've achieved the goal.
Good call.
And often you'll see the word ongoing, which is clearly not a measurable and doesn't have a place in a CRC business plan.
Exactly. It doesn't have a number in it.
No.
Instead of ongoing, put even if it's June the 30th next year or something like that. So there's a deadline on it. Yeah, good point, Ross.
So let's break down a couple of objectives that suck and turn them into our SMART objectives. And we'll work with that first example there. In getting more grants, let's turn that into a SMART objective. So here's one, which is to increase non-grant related income to 50% by 2015. So we'll go through that now in its SMART format. So the specific part of it is to actually increase non-grant related income. The measurable part that John just referred to is we're going to actually increase that part to 50% of your total CRC income. The action focused part is that you're actually really working on increasing income for your CRC. Realistic, it is, because currently the CRC in question had non-grant income at 30%. So it's achievable to get there. And the time constrained part, you're giving yourself another 2 years to get there. So to me, that's a really SMART objective.
As long as you said when in 2015, Andrew.
Yep, so maybe June 30, but for an end of financial year.
Exactly.
One could be a good way to work it. Cool, thanks John. And let's go through another objective that sucks, and turn that into a SMART one. So this one is a SMART objective. CRC services are utilised by at least 60% of local businesses by 2016. And typically we see in a CRC business plan is something like the CRC is utilised by several local businesses or lots of local businesses using the CRC. So turning this into a SMART goal gets it quite clear on what you're trying to achieve. Again, just to break that down into the SMART components, it's talking, the specific part of it is people are using CRC services. the measurable part is we're saying we're actually aiming for 60% of local businesses to do this. It's action focused because we're talking about service utilisation. Realistic, currently the measure has been that 45% of local businesses are using the CRC, and we're aiming for 2016, and probably, John, by the 30th of June, be my guess.
Or the 1st of January.
Either one.
2016, but yeah, important to have that date.
Yep. So making sure we've got anything that's broad, which doesn't seem to be measurable in your business plan now, really needs to be in that SMART format. John, any other comments on getting things into SMART format?
It's always a good exercise to go through to use the who, what, why, where, how, when formula. So by asking yourself putting those question words in front of a goal, well, how are we going to achieve that? Who's going to do it? By when? By how much? And so on. That's a great way to get things clear. And sometimes in workshops I've seen people come up with goals like to be more time efficient, or to have some of those things just aren't measurable. So what you can do then is turn your goal into action instead. So instead of saying like, I'm going to improve my time management, well, say I'm going to spend an hour a day at 8 o'clock every morning planning my day, something like that. So turn it into something that's action focused, which is the other part of SMART, and then it becomes measurable as well.
Beautiful. And I think it's worth thinking through some of the benefits to you as a CRC and somebody working in the CRC of having the SMART goals. Some of the things I think the benefits include accountability. John, you've worked a lot in a number of organisations. Accountability, how does that help an organisation like a CRC?
It's very important that you can demonstrate where you're spending people's money. When you've got funding providers, you need to be able to demonstrate to them where you're spending the money and what the value is that you've returned for that money. So what's been the benefit of what you've been doing? And you become auditable, if you like. It's not a very pleasant word, but you know, I work with a lot of non-profit organisations who are seeking funding from providers, and it's absolutely critical that you can demonstrate. And so it just comes down to good corporate governance. In business we'd call it corporate governance, but it's just having the systems, procedures and the tracking mechanisms to show what you're doing and how you're getting a return for your stakeholders.
And I think too, the CRCs that are using those SMART goals, it actually helps them to look at where they are achieving success and celebrating success. And probably Jurien Bay is a good example with one of their projects, Ros.
Yes. Yeah, I think they recently received additional funding to run an arts program and named that Contemporary Old Salts. So they had a variety of community engagement activities, but particularly the focus was on the age-old art of creating spray pots with the wicker method. But I mean, I agree with what John's highlighting there. The SMART process really assists the CRC in recognising their value to the community, to funding providers, and also indirectly creates a feel-good value for the CRC because it kind of acknowledges the achievements that they've made for their community and themselves in the bigger picture.
It becomes a motivator for the whole team. When they can measure their success.
And they can choose to build on their success or their strengths, should I say, and or else allocate resources to some of the areas that they might want to strengthen.
Excellent.
So I've done a lot of work today talking about the SMART objectives and talking about how they fit in with success. John, can you just do a bit of a wrap up for us now in what we've covered today?
Sure, Andrew. We talked at length about the success continuum and the importance of having SMART goals. And it really does, it forms the linchpin of the whole success of the organisation because it is motivating. It does demonstrate return on investment for funding providers. It really encapsulates everything that you're trying to do in the business plan. So it's very important to do that. This also feeds into the business overview section of your business plan document in the template. Gives you good content for that. So again, go away, work with your teams, write down those big, hairy, audacious goals, but please do the who, what, why, where, when check, and try to get some numbers into your goals. It just makes them so much more measurable, motivating, and so on. In the next episode, we're going to be talking about products and services and the target market for your CRC, or the markets for your CRC. We're going to be looking at who your customers and stakeholders are and what it is you do for them, and the products and services, and how well the CRC is equipped to deliver those services. And this is where we're up to so far. So we all look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Fantastic. Thanks again, team. Great having you on board. And hoping you're also making progress, and certainly encourage you, just like John said, to really work hard on completing the work in between each episode, plugging it into your business template, and moving forward and achieving success. So thanks for joining us again, folks. If you need more resources, you can grab the CRC Network News, and you can go into the CRC portal, which is at https://extranet.crc.net.au. Thanks again for joining us. Thanks to the Super Supreme team. Great to have on board. And we look forward to seeing you again in the next episode. Hooroo.